So I would like to take this time to welcome our next speaker, which is going to be Kate Pasterfield from Sponge, and she will be talking about the future of learning, mobile VR in the workplace. And I don't know why I spoke like that, but there you go.
Thank you. I'll carry it on, shall I? Well, welcome to this extremely nice digital wedding reception. And I think after this, we've all got a bit of honeymoon work to do, don't we? Because hopefully we'll get lots of tips and amazing things to take away with us today. I am Kate Pasterfield. I work at Sponge UK. Let me try and do this so we don't keep moving everything around. The talk today, it's called The Future of Learning, and it's mobile virtual reality in the workplace. And the reason I thought I would bring this to talk to you about is because it's a little bit of a journey that we've been on at Sponge as one of our particular initiatives. It's not everything we do, but I thought it might be nice to kind of share how we've got this from a kind of concept through to commercialization just fairly recently. Just a little bit about Sponge. Sponge is a digital learning company based in Plymouth. We started out here in 2004, and actually it's really lovely to see some people here who have known our growth story right from the beginning, when we were actually a design agency and Sponge had no clients and we were 5 people. And gradually over the years we've moved from office to office and grown, and we're now 100 people. We've got an office in London. Quite a lot of our work comes from Europe. And what we build is digital learning solutions, kind of like training really, for organisations that are global in scale and need things to be deployed to train typically their employees or their distributors in, for instance, new products or skills. And some of the clients that we work with are here. We're really lucky to have some extremely exciting global brands on our roster. We work with Adidas in Germany, we work with Google in London, and of course they're everywhere. Lexus out of Europe, Brussels, GSK, Tesco, and all sorts in between. And quite a lot of them have overlapping needs, but we're often doing things like e-learning for them, animations, video, film, interactive video, and this kind of stuff. So to keep Sponge really relevant and exciting, about a year ago I set up an innovation team, which we called Sparkworks. And this is one of the benefits of being at this one company for its whole life cycle. I've been there for I think about 13 years now. It's a family business, which is why you can't leave. And only joking, I love my family. So what I realised was happening is that we were going to these shows. Every year we do a big show in London, and I was seeing that we were doing stuff, and then a year later all our competitors would be doing the same thing, and I was thinking, well, we need to protect this and we need to get further ahead of the curve. And so I wanted to start the innovation team to really have its remit to focus on the horizon and be looking at future technologies that could influence what solutions we might deliver for our clients. But also we use our time to creatively remold and retool what it is that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So if we've got tech tools that we're using, how can we make those better? If we've got interface design we're doing, how can we make that look even nicer? So that we're really leading and cutting edge in the marketplace. And Sponge is probably one of the most successful and largest digital learning companies now that's still privately owned. So hopefully we're doing something right, but we keep working hard all the time. So I'm just going to give you a rhetorical question to kind of warm you up into the way that we think every day about learning, and just consider what's a really great learning experience that you've had. Something that was either memorable or had a particular impact on your life. It doesn't have to be formal learning, it could be an informal learning experience. Oftentimes when we think of this question, it's usually because we have had an experience happen to us, rather than we've read a manual or, watched a video. Quite often the most significant learnings come from actually doing it. And this is aligned to a learning theory that Cole put forward, which is that learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through transformation of experience. And I think what he's really getting at there is that if you can learn through experience, it's much more likely to be applicable to your daily life, because you remember it was perhaps painful or exciting, and you'll be able to do something with that. And our job as digital learning creators is to try and make the most impactful learning experiences for employees at work. And I think this is what really attracted me to virtual reality, because virtual reality enables us to transport users to environments that give people a chance to make decisions, to see visible consequences. And we thought that this could be a very powerful tool for learning. And then, could we get that into the workplace was the question that we started to think about. And there are some awesome examples of virtual reality. And in fact, in this room, I think I've just been up to space over in the corner, which was the Mars. If you haven't had a chance to have a go on that, on the Rift, that was amazing. And there are lots of experiences like that. We're now able to do things like go inside the human body as a blood cell, or we might be transported into space, as similarly as you've just seen over there in the corner, if you've had a chance to have a go on that. We're also able to go underwater. We can be plunged into the depths where we wouldn't most likely be able to get ourselves. And we can also travel in time. So we can go back to a point in history and explore things as they were. And of course, we can get creative with that too. These are really impressive, both educational and experiential, immersive learning experiences. But the challenge we've got is that for the needs that we have, our clients are distributed all over the world. They have audiences that are very large, tens of thousands. And the limitation of this kind of virtual reality experience currently is that it's limited by cost of production, cost of equipment, and facilitation, because you need a computer and maybe a room and a bit of guidance to help people in, get them on the headsets and give them this kind of experience. So given that that's the case, we thought, let's explore mobile VR. Everybody at work generally has a smartphone. Once it becomes more ubiquitous, people will be quite happy to pick up a cardboard and throw that on and have a go. And it might just get the world moving forward a little bit faster in the workplace towards using these immersive learning experiences. So we're quite excited about this, and we thought, well, let's see whether we can actually bring this to our audience. And so at the beginning of 2016, we really began a bit of a year of technical inquiry. We hadn't done anything in virtual reality before. We hadn't really figured it out. We had a few students and graduates probably from Plymouth who had done quite a bit, and we had some technical experimenters, but we hadn't as a company kind of moved it forward. So we began a bit of research, and I started looking at a load of 360 videos, and that was across entertainment and journalism and some really great exemplary kind of examples. But very quickly you realize with 360 video that it's passive. And in learning terms, when you want active learning, you want people to be engaged. They need to be interacting with things as you would in your natural experience. So that was kind of a limitation for me. So that set me off thinking, well, what can we do about that? Could we make this interactive? So this was our first question. And I set this to the development team, and initially there was a kind of a no way, like the files are too big, we probably can't do that. And in fact, actually, they cracked it because they're geniuses. And what we did was, the test was, we took a 360 photo, and we put an HTML5 framework around it, and we managed to build interactions and hotspots within it so that it was very familiar and akin to the kinds of interactive experiences that we were used to in digital learning. So that was fantastic, but we'd only done that with a photo. So the next thing was we needed to figure out how to get the footage in. And bearing in mind this is still kind of fairly early in 2016, we've now got a plethora of different kinds, and more all the time, 360 cameras kind of entering into the marketplace. But back then there wasn't quite so much around, so we had to get a bit inventive with the GoPro rigs, and tried out all different kinds of lenses, both fisheyes and different configs, and 7 and 5, and all these different things. And finally we got to the sweet spot where we were able to do it. And then of course you have to do stitching and grading and the same kinds of skills you would do in filmmaking. And the files are enormous because you've got 6 things of file footage, and you have to buy a new computer to process it all on. Cracked all that, started looking at 3D sound and how we could really make these experiences a bit more ambisonic. Although on a mobile phone and at workplaces, most people don't have that, so we didn't pursue that for very long. And then we got to kind of a working prototype. So we thought, well, let's see if we can now apply what we've done to a client problem. And the client problem that we applied this to was for a street fundraising charity. And, well, they're a street fundraising organisation that govern the way charities gather use their street fundraisers, or chuggers. Anybody a chugger? Anybody been a chugger? Sorry to use that word. Two of the key learnings here were that when you are street fundraising, you have to stand in the right place. And you also have to approach the right kinds of people. So you can't approach vulnerable people, and you can't approach under 17s and this kind of thing. So what's kind of going on in the background behind me is you can see that we built 360 footage. We built a little kind of reticle, and this was a desktop 360 experience. It had really nice sound, really nice voiceover. It had live presenting. And we managed to kind of get it to a place where we were happy with it. We premiered it at a show in Las Vegas called DevLearn, and it got a round of applause, and people were really excited about it in our learning community. But of course, we had our final question to answer, which was, can we now take this and make it into a true virtual reality experience? And what we had to overcome with that was whether we could get stereoscopic vision in and the kind of split screen 3D thing, and also whether we could translate the desktop experience into the kind of gaze function, so that when you look around, everything trails nicely, and how all the little new UI, like how do you start and stop it? How do you make it intuitive so that people who've never done virtual reality before can just jump in and get on with it? And we managed to do that too. So we were really proud. We showcased that at Learning Technologies in London this year. And then we found that this was quite breakthrough in the mobile virtual reality space, because we'd overcome the problem of passive video by introducing the HTML5 framework. And then we started thinking, well, we want to get creative with this. So just this year, we've just launched a new sort of interactive film learning experience targeted at security personnel, focused on countering hostile reconnaissance. And what this is the information gathering phase that, for example, terrorist organizations will do before they actually have an attack on a specific target. And the learning here is that you need to be able to, if you're a security person, look at a space like this, observe suspicious behaviors, go and have a reconciliation conversation, and then decide whether you need to escalate it to the police or other services. And we found that this was this came from a need that we were talking to Google about, and we were pretty excited to try and put something together for them. And although this was an on-spec project, we've kind of shown it to them since, and they like it. Just to show you a couple of the things that we did in there, I'm going to try and... Oh no, it's not going to play. Oh, yes, it is. Apologies. It's got sound, so I'll just give you a bit of a taster. So if you can imagine, this is in the VR headset, mobile VR headset.
Prior to 9/11 in New York 2001, Al-Qaeda operative Diran Barrett conducted video surveillance of the entrances, security cameras, barriers, and the movement of guards.
So you get
July
a nice
7th, London to self.
introduction.
You gaze at the...
Sorry, it's me. It's not the me show, but unfortunately I'm the cheapest person to get to
Start
present
looking
things.
around.
So what you have to do is you then get some instructions, and then you're taken to a location which Marika will recognise. Thank you very much to the Plymouth Science Park for letting us use the facilities there in their reception for our proof of concept. And the idea is that you have to gaze around and look for suspicious behaviours, and then when you see them, you're able to speak to the people. Let me see if this will
Signing
work.
in at reception.
Oh, let's see. It might be a bit laggy.
Suspicious behaviour.
Let's have a look. Oh, no.
Suspicious behaviour.
So this was a new interaction that we had to create.
Oh, they didn't tell you? I would have thought our email reached you in advance.
Where you had to speak and interact with the people who were doing the suspicious behaviours.
Yeah, because I'm here with the Science Park, just here to do the fire door regulations, clear pathways, all that legal stuff.
We'll make sure the email gets sent.
We did pay actors, but you can't always guarantee they're going to learn their lines or deliver them with vim, you know. And this guy is a good example of somebody who didn't do that. So we try our best. But as a proof of concept, it was really successful, and we've just recently taken this to a show in San Jose where I was speaking in California just recently, and then we were on a panel speaking as experts about this because we've invested so much time kind of getting it to where it is. So I'm running out of time. I'm just going to share the lessons that we learned along the way, which may help you if you've got a pursuit that you're kind of looking at too. I think the first thing with any kind of inquiry is that you really need to ask questions. And the really nice thing is you can see that we asked lots of different questions from a technical point of view, from a business case point of view, and we tried to frame those problems. And then we tried to build small to answer them. So we didn't, get a whole team together, and we just tiny bits kind of iteratively answered the questions and built small little proof of concepts which tested our thinking piece by piece across all the disciplines, across the filming and the sound and the tech and the development. I think that then gave us the opportunity to really experiment and learn. We don't have at Sponge, I don't have a dedicated team. We just have to beg and borrow time from the resources that we already have who are doing paid client work. So we have to be quite kind of quick, and we have to capture what it is that we learn as we go and then make sure that that's implemented into the next little pocket of time that we get. And experimentation is really fun because, for example, when I showed you that interaction, we learned only after implementing the gaze function when you were talking to the person that actually we'd placed the continue button right on the crotch of the person who was there in the film. And so we were like, let's move that because it's kind of awkward. So that's, those kinds of things, you only figure them out like once you're in the build. So luckily we have a team that work quite iteratively to be able to change that kind of stuff and improve it as we go. And then I think finally collaboration. Collaboration, I know people talk about collaboration a lot, but the way these kinds of projects get done is if you have developers and designers and writers and filmmakers and script writers and people thinking all together to try and bring something to life. But I would say that it also needs direction, and you do need a kind of strong steer through it, because otherwise you end up with kind of lots of experiments and iterations and nothing kind of pulls it together. So you do need focus too, but collaboration has been very powerful for us. So I think really I just wanted to share that this is an experience that shows how we took some emerging technologies and applied it to meet the needs of our industry, and this is now in commercialization. It's gone to market, we've sold some to some clients. And there are many, many new technologies, and there are only going to be an explosion more of them. And they're going to become mainstream, but I guess the key is to ask, how can you use them to enhance the experiences of your audience, and on that journey kind of come up with something innovative and useful and hopefully helpful for the people that you're trying to serve. So yeah, that's hopefully maybe next year I'll be here listening to your story. That's ours, and that's everything from me. Thank you very much.